We are getting ready for the hottest temperatures of the year tomorrow. I'll let you know how long the heat wave lasts.
I'm concerned about my safety because no one's safe really nowadays.
A violent Labor Day weekend has residents on edge, the latest on a string of shootings and how city leaders are responding. And Fox 45 News takes a closer look at the after-action reports from the Brooklyn Day mass shooting, why some experts say the reports are leading to more questions.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
And good evening, everybody. I'm Mary Bubala. We hope you're enjoying your Labor Day weekend as September is off to a hot start across our area. Summer is supposed to be winding down, but it certainly doesn't feel like that outside right now. Let's get right to meteorologist Jasmine Lomax. And Jasmine, we could see some record heat this week.
Yeah, Mary, that's right. We already had record highs today recorded at BWI, and tomorrow we'll likely have the same thing. Currently, right now, our temperature is still in the 70s and even the 80s across the state at this hour. It's still very warm, and overnight, not much relief from the heat. Our temperatures will gradually fall to the mid-70s, and then we're getting ready not just for a hot day tomorrow, but really over the entire week. Temperatures will be much warmer than average. However, as we move forward over the next 6 to 10 days, we're talking a more mild pattern, and that means that it'll start to feel like fall again. Coming up, I'll have a closer look at just how hot the temperatures get this week in my Weather Authority forecast. Back to you.
Jasmine, thank you. It has been a violent Labor Day weekend in Baltimore. 5 shootings across the city have left 1 man dead. Child Interrogation Act keeps police from questioning juveniles without a parent or an attorney present. Lawmakers had a chance to amend those laws during this year's legislative session, but did not approve any changes. Now, Senator Jill Carter authored some of the legislation in question, and she's standing by her laws. In a conversation with Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost, Carter says she doesn't think the laws are the main issue contributing to violent crime. City State's Attorney Ivan Bates disagrees.
I think that police and prosecutors need to be better educated if they're believing that they can't do anything, which I don't know why they would believe that.
There's nothing the law will allow us to do to hold them accountable, and they're doing whatever they want.
Well, Fox 45 News also sent questions to the governor's office last month, asking about what changes need to be made to hold juveniles accountable. In response, the governor's office sent us a statement saying the governor will continue working with lawmakers and community leaders to bring solutions that provide real measures of accountability. And that brings us to our question of the day. What would you like the governor to do about juvenile crime before the next legislative session? Listen to prosecutors or make no changes to current laws. So far, 94% of people who voted say listen to prosecutors. You can make your voice heard right now at foxbaltimore.com/vote. Baltimore police still searching for suspects in the Brooklyn Day mass shooting after an 18-year-old and a 14-year-old were arrested last week. 2 other teens were already in custody. None of the suspects have been charged, though, with murdering 18-year-old Aaliyah Gonzalez or 20-year-old Kylas Fagbemi. And acting Baltimore Police Commissioner Richard Worley says the investigation is far from over.
I want to be very clear, this investigation is not ending anytime soon. Every tool in our tool belt will be used to identify and apprehend those responsible for this horrific and tragic incident.
Well, the latest Brooklyn Day mass shooting arrest came just 1 day after city agencies released their after-action reports detailing potential missteps in the moments leading up to and after the shooting and the efforts to make sure a similar tragedy doesn't happen again. But there are some lingering questions about the reports. Fox 45's Taylor Stewart explains.
As Baltimore police charge 4 teenagers in connection to the Brooklyn Homes mass shooting, we're now looking back at what happened. 3 key agencies have now released their findings in an in-depth report that highlights what went wrong the day of. It's Baltimore City's most in-depth report on July's Brooklyn Day mass shooting. It highlights the shortcomings of 3 city agencies the day gunfire broke out at the South Baltimore block party, killing 2 people and injuring 28 others.
We know we made mistakes. It was important that our after-action report not only mentioned those mistakes, highlighted those mistakes and the shortcomings, but also provides recommendations to improve and learn from.
Acting Commissioner Richard Worley says officers in the Southern District should have mobilized faster. The after-action report points out discretionary officers were available but never called. A finding law enforcement expert Tyrone Powers calls a major misstep.
Anne Arundel County Police Department with Baltimore City Police Department both should have seen that this crowd was swelling. The fact that there was a little bit of indifference, the fact that Anne Arundel County was essentially called off, it is problematic.
The report reads, officer indifference may have compromised awareness, planning, and response to Brooklyn Day prior to the large crowds arriving. But Worley also says his officers were not properly informed ahead of the block party.
I think what he's doing is signaling that the fact that these other agencies, particularly people like Monty, and Safe Streets, and even the Housing Authority, didn't really inform the police that these things were occurring.
Peace Chairman Giovanni Patterson says he still has questions about the mediations led by Safe Street workers who, according to the report, left an hour before gunfire broke out.
What happens with Safe Streets, I mean, you have these guys in 4 out of 5 mediations or 4 out of 5 of their interactions involve weapons. So what happens with the weapons when they leave the mediation?
For police, though, the question now is who else was involved in the city's deadliest mass shooting in recent history, as leaders with BPD say they're searching for additional suspects. Taylor Stewart, Fox 45 News.
Well, Fox 45 News has done extensive reporting on the Brooklyn Day mass shooting and the 3 organizations that released after-action reports last week. Our complete coverage is available online right now at foxbaltimore.com. Well, coming up, the Maryland Cycling Classic returns for round 2. We hear from the winner and why he says today was such a difficult race. And former President Trump widens his lead in the race for the Republican nomination, why some are using the Constitution to argue he shouldn't be allowed to run.
Fox 45 News, winner of 16 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
Cyclists and fans alike braving the heat for the second annual Maryland Cycling Classic today. The 121-mile course began in Sparks, winding through the Baltimore area before wrapping up at the Inner Harbor around 5 o'clock tonight. In the end, 22-year-old Mateusz Gajelkamos of Denmark pulled away for the victory, finishing the course in 4 hours, 26 minutes. Even for the world's most elite athletes, the sweltering heat was definitely an issue.
We get out there and they were really flat until the circuit is tearing really on the body, and also just the heat. Everything combination of everything is just making it a really hard race.
With the top American cyclist finished in second place, about 2 minutes 20 seconds behind the winner.
And it certainly was a hot day for any time spent outside, and we have more hot days on the way. Currently, it's still very warm outside, 80 over Towson with clear skies and calm winds. Not terribly humid. Tomorrow, not terribly humid either, but still very hot. Across the state, we're mainly seeing temperatures in the 70s and still the 80s in many locations. This is warmer than we were this time yesterday. Of course, we had our temperatures in the 80s. Now it feels like summer again with highs reaching the upper 90s earlier this afternoon. Overnight, our temperatures continue to fall to the 70s, keeping us pretty mild. Then as we head into the day tomorrow, it's going to be another hot one as temperatures once again reach the mid to upper 90s. Will likely break a record, so you'll want to make sure that you are practicing heat safety throughout the day. Otherwise, it's quiet here and around the entire region. We've been enjoying a nice and dry pattern. That dry pattern will stick around over the next few days. Really not much in our way of cool down. No cold fronts coming our way, so we'll have a few more clouds move in overnight, but we start with dry weather. Then for the afternoon, more sunshine as our temperatures reach the upper 90s. Some areas could even reach the triple digits. This is followed by clear skies overnight and a nice and sunny start to the day on Tuesday. Again, we wake up to temperatures in the 70s and the 80s, and by the afternoon, those high temperatures in the upper 90s and even the low 100s for some. We'll likely see records broken tomorrow and again on Tuesday, possibly even Wednesday as this heat wave continues. We'll stay dry over the next few days, but it's Thursday when we have the chance for a few spotty showers and storms. And then there's another chance for scattered showers and storms on Friday and again on Saturday. We'll stay mostly dry on Sunday with temperatures a little bit lower. 75 for the low temperature overnight with a few passing clouds. Then tomorrow, our highs reached 99 degrees. This would be the hottest temperature of the year so far, but we are looking at more hot weather once again on Tuesday and Wednesday throughout the next few days. Make sure that you're staying hydrated and drinking plenty of water. Also wear loose, light-colored clothing. Make sure to take breaks in the shade or AC, and also check in on neighbors and pets. If it's too hot for you, it is too hot for your pets. So a hot one for Labor Day, 99 again on Tuesday, 99 again on Wednesday, then the mid-90s on Thursday with the next chance for a few showers and storms, 91 on Friday, mid-80s on Saturday, and 84 on Sunday, keeping us close to average. Back to you.
Jasmine, thank you. Well, due to the intense heat this week, some Baltimore City schools will be dismissing early on Tuesday and Wednesday. 12 schools are listed. None have working air conditioning. Baltimore City school leaders said all schools would have working AC by the start of the school year, but it appears not to be the case. You can find more on early dismissals and the ongoing problems with a lack of AC in city schools on our website, foxbaltimore.com. Take a look at this. Thousands of people are still stranded at the Burning Man Festival in Nevada. Heavy rain leading to ankle-deep mud across parts of the campus. And there's only one way out. People are being asked to conserve food and water, and some have been on the property for close to a week already. The site was hit with 3 months worth of rain, really within just one day, and more rain could be in the forecast later tonight.
Former President Donald Trump proving to be unstoppable in the polls. I'm Christine Frizzell with a look at a growing movement to try to stop him another way.
Well, we are learning legendary singer Jimmy Buffett died of skin cancer. That's according to an obituary posted on his official website. Buffett had cancer for 4 years, continuing to perform with the disease until his final concert in July. Buffett died Friday in New York. He was only 76 years old. Well, some new polling data suggesting the GOP primary may be over before it even really begins. Former President Trump is expanding his lead despite sitting out debates and undergoing a series of legal issues. National correspondent Christine Frizzell takes a look at the numbers for us.
Despite 4 indictments and 91 felony charges, Donald Trump's support in the 2024 GOP presidential primary remains impenetrable. A new Wall Street Journal poll showing his numbers actually on the rise, now at 59%, up 11 percentage points from April.
There's plenty of time between now and the Iowa caucuses and when these primaries get underway. And
this as his rivals carry on, meeting voters face to face in states like Iowa and New Hampshire, nearly all with poll numbers in the single digits. Still, Vivek Ramaswamy enjoying a small post-debate bump. He spoke with chief political correspondent Scott Thuman Saturday on his bus in New Hampshire.
I'm saying he's the best president of the 21st century by definition. However, we have to aspire to more. I think I'm single-handedly best equipped to reunite this country.
Meanwhile, there is growing movement as well to raise red flags about Donald Trump's ability to hold office. Legal scholars, including many conservatives, pointing to the insurrection clause of the Constitution. Section 3 of the 14th Amendment aimed at those who have engaged in insurrection or rebellion after taking an oath to support the Constitution.
An insurrectionist who tried to overturn the country's Constitution cannot be entrusted with protecting it in the future.
But others warn allowing secretaries of state to remove Trump's name from the ballot in their states would yield a constitutional crisis.
It's a bizarre idea, plainly unconstitutional.
Constitutional scholar Alan Dershowitz now offering to argue his point if this case gets to the Supreme Court.
We've been misled into thinking this is a disqualification provision for a candidate. No, it's a removal provision for a sitting president and sitting senator.
The 2024 primary already shaping up to be unprecedented as candidates hold on to hope their efforts could shift the political headwinds they face. The first primary is still more than 4 months away. I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
Well, a debate over government spending is brewing in Congress as lawmakers return from a month-long summer recess. While a debt ceiling deal is in place, House Republicans are trying to cut more spending, which could undo a spending bill in the Senate. A potential shutdown is on the table if the deal isn't worked out. The uncertainty has business leaders on edge.
They are, I think, in some cases frustrated that this is how government operates. You know, what businesses need to be successful is predictability. You know, predictability, some semblance of, regular order.
Well, the White House is urging Congress to pass a short-term spending bill in order to avoid a shutdown. As it stands, the government is currently funded through the end of September. Still ahead, election security is a main talking point heading into 2024. But how serious are the concerns? Full Measure investigates. As we near the 2024 election, polls show some Americans don't seem to trust the election process. Full Measure Cheryl Atkinson looks into how uncertainty could impact next year's biggest races.
The first category of voting issues, election processes that could open the door to fraud. Numerous court actions and audits call into question systems used to cast millions of ballots in the 2020 election. In Wisconsin, absentee ballot drop boxes used in 2020 were illegally approved by the Elections Commission, according to the state Supreme Court. Had that ruling come before the election, it could have had a big impact. 200,000 drop box ballots skipped normal voter ID requirements in a state Biden won by just 20,600 votes. Our second category of voting issues involves alleged election mistakes. In Georgia's close election, numerous anomalies surfaced during forced recounts. In both Fayette and Floyd counties, Donald Trump was shorted 1,200 votes on memory cards that somehow weren't counted on Election Day. In Michigan, Shiawassee County added 100,000 votes for Biden on election night that he didn't actually get. Observers flagged the error and the tally was corrected. Our third category of voting issues is outright alleged fraud. But before we get to 2020, a documented case showing how election results can be manipulated live. The case was prosecuted in Philadelphia last year. Ex-Congressman Ozzie Myers, a Democrat, led a major vote fraud ring that operated in 5 elections leading up to 2020. He bribed election judges. They would report to him on Election Day how many legit votes were being cast in real time to calculate how many fraudulent votes should be added for the preferred candidates. The corrupt election judges would later attest to the accuracy of the machine results and certify the final fake counts. Friends Gary Snyder and David Lara say neither Democrat nor Republican leaders cared to unearth long-standing voter fraud in their hometown of San Luis, Arizona. Early on primary election day in 2020, they decided to set up and record video outside a polling place. They caught school board member and former mayor Guillermina Fuentes in action.
And a lady walked up, had a ballot in her hand. Guillermina Fuentes received her ballot, opened it up, wrote on it, deciding who they're going to vote for, signed the name, and closed it.
Snyder and Lara reported what they saw to law enforcement and handed over the video. After a lengthy investigation, Fuentes and 3 other women were arrested. As for the ex-Congressman Ozzie Myers, who was convicted in the Philadelphia ring that changed votes in 5 elections, he got just 2.5 years in prison, even though he was a repeat offender. He'd been kicked out of Congress back in 1980 and served time in prison in the bribery scandal known as Abscam. For Full Measure, I'm Cheryl Atkinson.
And you can watch Full Measure Sundays on Fox 45 at 10 a.m. Well, Super Bowl or bust, that's one Ravens message for his team's goal in 2023. That's ahead on Sports Unlimited. You're never too old to go back to school, right? Well, check this out. 3 generations of a Wisconsin family are all attending the same college this year. 2 sisters will be sharing campus with their mom and their grandmother, who both decided to join the business program this year. Their mother has worked at the college for years and wanted to pursue a degree of her own. Their grandmother recently retired. She says she's always wanted to earn her master's degree.
My mom raised me, obviously, to face my fears, right? I always say, I think I'm afraid every day of my life, but I just do things anyway, and my mom taught me that.
It's just so amazing to look up to that. Like, that's literally what I want to be when I grow up. I want to be able to do whatever I want.
All 4 women say they are excited for the year. They're already planning their first study session together. Good luck to all of them. Well, that's all the news at 10. I'm Mary Bubala. Thank you so much for watching. Morgan Adsit joins us now with Sports Unlimited. Morgan.
Thank you, Mary. Comes tonight on Sports Unlimited. By this time next week, the Ravens hope to be 1-0. Week 1 previews are ahead, including Patrick Queen doubling down the team's Super Bowl or bust mindset when he joins us one-on-one. But all of that depends on one major question mark for the Ravens this season. How will their new offensive pieces come together on game day? GM Eric DeCosta gives us his scouting report on the offense he built this offseason. And the Birds add a familiar face to their bullpen for this September and beyond run. Sports Unlimited starts after this.
Super Bowl or bust.
All right, Super Bowl or bust, Patrick Queen. Hey, everyone, welcome to Sports Unlimited. I'm Morgan Adsit. Rocco DeSangro has a night off, but you'll see him soon talking Orioles. Week 1 is 1 week away when the Ravens try to go 1-0, starting with Houston. More from Queen and the Ravens ahead. But the World Series comes before the Super Bowl. The other Birds hoping to take part of November baseball. Orioles going for the Series W at Arizona. Once up 4-1, game tied at 4, but then Cedric Mullins gets the RBI eventually to the grass. Orioles back with the lead 5-4, and oh, it got worse. Kyle Nelson. Double trouble. Jordan Westburg brings in Mullins with the 2-bagger. 6-4 Orioles. Westburg off the bench. Next batter, the leadoff man Adley Rutschman does the same. 2 RBI double. 8-4 Birds. O's score 4 in the 6th to take it 8-5. Rays also won, so the O's division lead stays at 2.5 with 26 games remaining. Prior to first pitch, the Birds made a number of roster moves. Outfielder Aaron Hicks is back from the injured list with that lower back strain. The O's second-ranked prospect Colton Cowser sent back down to AAA. Austin Voth was designated for assignment because reliever Jorge Lopez is back with the Orioles. The O's All-Star last season that was traded away to the Twins for Yennier Cano. While solid in 2022, Lopez has struggled this season in Minnesota and Miami. The O's claimed him off waivers to add depth and talent to the bullpen, and Lopez will gladly take this reunion for that change of scenery. He worked a scoreless eighth today on 8 pitches.
You know, been through these couple months. Like I say, I'm a new guy today, and for them, they just feels like that's where it should be, where I'm at. You know, so I'm really thankful. You know, for just being close to what they've been growing. So to be back and family is really happy to it.
It's not a mountain of a move, but while the Orioles are down closer Felix Bautista, they will take all the options for the bullpen to work through this month before October baseball. John Means will get one more rehab start in AAA Norfolk, then he should be on his way to join the Orioles for his debut, most likely out of the pen.
Ryan Ripken joining us on another segment of Sports Unlimited talking O's baseball. Rip, a nice reunion between the O's and one of their former players. That's Jorge Lopez. He was the team's lone all-star in 2022. Comes back with the team. They claim him off waivers from the Miami Marlins, and he struggled in Miami. So the question is, can the O's get Jorge Lopez back to where he was last season, that all-star form?
Yeah, I mean, that's the goal, and the answer is yes. If you look back to his 2022 all-star type season with the Baltimore Orioles, it was a career year. So the answer is an emphatic yes, but it's trying to get him back to what made him kind of special, to be honest here, Rock. So for the Orioles, the only hope is you got to go back, look at what didn't work, and try to get him back to feeling comfortable. Because the other thing for Jorge Lopez, he went from starter to reliever, and that takes a lot of adjustment, and it happened so quickly he had success. Now he's got to try to go back and figure out, how do I rewire myself? So it should be an interesting task, but I think he's up to it.
And with Jorge Lopez, since they got him on the roster after August 31st, he is not eligible for postseason play. That's just a note to kind of keep track of. So with the O's, this team faced a ton of adversity before the season even began with the injuries. And then you get into the season, some injuries as well to big-name players. Nobody expected this team to be at this point where they are at the top of the AL East before the season even began. To see the journey where they are now, what does it say about the grind and the grit of the Baltimore Orioles?
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's not what you want to get into reflection period just yet, right? But the Orioles so far, if I told you the Orioles would be in first place going into September, and despite losing Cedric Mullins twice to injury, having Michael Givens and Dylan Tate, two guys that you thought would be a part of your bullpen, really be non-existent, especially Tate for the whole season, Givens just partially being a part of the team, you would wonder what this team was capable of. And the reality is this team has had that next man up mentality. We've seen guys come up over and over again, and that's really been the beauty of this Orioles season. And now as we go into the final month, we're going to figure out if the Orioles can get to that American League East title.
I was just going to ask you about that, and fans might not want to even think about this, but hypothetically, if the O's don't win the AL East, if it's another team like the Rays, does it change your outlook on what this team can accomplish in the postseason?
Well, yeah, hypothetically, I hate playing this game, Rock, well, but we're going to do it anyway. So what if the Orioles don't win, right? Well, the goal's still the same. The goal is to win the World Series, right? And it doesn't matter if you're the American League East champs or you're a wild card, because we've seen in the past. Last year, the Philadelphia Phillies snuck in, San Diego Padres also, and both those teams were in the championship series with Philly going to the World Series. So really, you just want to be playing your best ball. Of course, the Orioles would want to, but it's not the end of the world.
What if they do? What do they do in the AL East? What does it do for this club, for the fan base, for the future of the Baltimore Orioles?
Well, again, same thing for the players. They're the same thing, right? It's going to be, their goal is the same, but the fan base specifically here, look, if I told you in 2019 that in less than 5 years the Orioles could be the #1 team in the American League, you would take it. So it means so much to the fan base. And imagine home field running through Baltimore. I think that's where the biggest difference is. And we know how much this fan base loves their baseball. So that would be the biggest thing. The goal stays the same, but man, Camden Yards would be electric come postseason time.
Going to be awesome to see those orange rally towels flying if that is the case. I want to ask you about Kyle Gibson quickly. So Kyle Gibson, 7.89 ERA in the month of August. Couple uncharacteristic starts from him. and you're going to need starting pitching to take you deep into the postseason. Are you worried about Kyle Gibson right now?
I think the up and down gets people frustrated, and Kyle Gibson will tell you he's not happy with his performance. But the thing that's kind of interesting with Kyle is that he's had bad starts against teams like the White Sox and the A's, but he's had really good starts against playoff teams like the Blue Jays, the Phillies, the Twins.